Okay, welcome back. And this morning we go straight into positive. And this morning inside of positive, what we'll be talking about is health. Now, you know that when it comes to the Christmas season, we have people that get so crazy with talking about a whole lot of drinking and eating. Now, I saw it fit for my guest to be here this morning. Definitely, I said, all right, you know what? I need a doctor in the house because we have people that they do so much things and they don't necessarily know how much it is affecting their health. Good morning, Dr. Lewis from the Portland Health Department. Good morning.
Good morning, Baker, and good morning to the listeners out there.
All right. This morning we're speaking health. People get real crazy when it comes on to this time of the year. And what you think is the best way to approach our eating habit that we have?
Well, we have to consider a whole lot of things, but I'll try to give you the essentials this morning. First of all, we need to make sure that we eat a balanced diet at all times. And I know that at Christmas time, when we have the whole lot of, gathering around food and so on, sometimes we forget about the things that we should be eating, the things that we should be avoiding. And so I'm just going to share with you a few tips. So we know that at Christmas we love to have, like, for example, our ham, and ham tends to have a lot of salt in it. So we would recommend that persons try to make sure that how it is prepared, that the salt content is significantly reduced. And especially for our hypertensives, we want to encourage them that they should really continue with the advice that they have gotten from their doctors to cut down on the salt and also the fats, because we know that in Jamaica we tend to love a lot of fried foods and so on, but when we eat a lot of the foods that are fried, we take in too much calories, and so that puts us at risk for heart disease and strokes and things like that. So that's another thing that we need to consider, avoiding the fried foods and preferably baking and stewing and cooking with very little oil as possible. We also know that this is a time when we mix our sorrel, and some persons tend to have a lot of spirit in the sorrel, as they call it, and so the alcohol content tends to be high. But I'd recommend that persons be careful, go easy on the alcohol in the sorrel, and also try to be moderate in the amount of alcohol that they're taking during the Christmas season, because you want at the end of it that you come out healthy and well.
All right, we just want to look at some specific persons out there. People that we know they are the hypertensive person or they have the diabetes. What is special for these type of people to eat? Because they tend to put aside the whole doctor thing. Doctor say, listen, do this, do that, but they say, all right, one time not going to kill me. So what would you suggest they do this time around, being to the fact that they want to be in this old party spirit of getting crazy with the Christmas season?
Well, I must admit that really this is a time that the persons who are diabetic and hypertensive tend to go easy and relax a bit. And unfortunately, when they come to the clinics in January, we tend to see the blood sugar and the blood pressure going sky high. And so that is the first thing that I'd want to make them aware of, that the enjoyment does have an impact. And so they have to be mindful. So the thing is to make sure that if you're going out, for example, to a party and you're not sure what it is that they'll be preparing, if you can eat, what it is that they have, it's always good to have a little snack, something on your person, so that you won't feel pressured or forced into eating the things that are there that are not healthy for you. But the other thing too is that we have to think about the proportions and sizes. So let's say that there is some beverage that is there, but you tasted it, and it's good to taste things before you actually, begin to really delve into it and consume it, to see if, for example, a drink is too sweet. Then you need to significantly dilute it and just have a small portion. And I just like to make persons aware that sometimes persons may purchase a drink and say, boy, this is too sweet. But what they do is add water to it and yet consume the whole thing for the day. But that does not really help the situation. That drink should really last you probably for 2 or 3 days, because the same amount of sugar is there in the diluted drink, even though you have added water to it. So that is the thing, to make sure they are prepared. They have something that they know that they can eat on their person when they go out. If they see things that they can't eat, they can either avoid it or minimize how much it is that they take in, and look for the healthier choices. Your dark green leafy vegetables, your taking small amounts of the starchy foods, taking small amounts of the oily foods. You can consume quite a good amount of peas and beans and so on. Just the usual guidance that they would have gotten in the clinics and at their doctor, to follow that through the Christmas season.
Okay, someone out there might be listening and say, you know what, we want to look after some fried chicken, some fried fish, and all this type of food. But how dangerous is the fried food really? That people, they need to know this.
Okay. What is saying, in other words, what is the impact of the fried foods on
Yeah.
our health? Now, there is a condition called atherosclerosis. The common term for it is hardening of the arteries, where over time, after consuming high levels of fat in the food, there is a narrowing of the arteries as the fat gets deposited in these vessels. And what that does, it limits narrows the passage that the blood has to flow through. And so you find that after a while, the blood going to the various organs gets reduced, and the body responds by increasing the blood pressure to try to force the blood through these vessels so that the organs can get enough nutrients and oxygen. But unfortunately, as the pressure increases and so on, it causes damages to the vessels, and after a while, persons can get a stroke, right, where the blood vessel in the brain either gets blocked by a clot, or it ruptures and there's bleeding, or persons can get damage to other organs. So the heart can get damaged after a while, having to pump against this high pressure. The heart gets enlarged and after a while becomes weakened because, it cannot manage this pressure after many years of working against the high blood pressure. And so persons develop heart failure. Some persons develop a heart attack when the blood vessel supplying the heart gets blocked. Persons develop circulatory problems in the lower limbs. Persons can develop kidney disease. So there are a whole host of problems. Eye disease, any organ in the body can be affected as a result of taking in too much fat over time, leading to this narrowing of the arteries.
Okay, and I hope that my listeners out there is listening very carefully. But one final thing before we go, the best food to consume when it comes to meat, and how we should prepare it for the Christmas.
Well, the best food to consume it's not that there is a, say, well, this meat necessarily over that. Generally,
In other words, the best way to look after it.
right. Generally, though, fish is a healthy meat to consume. But what we should do when we're preparing our meals and having meat, we should try to make sure we cut off all the fat and make sure that we avoid the frying and rather bake and stew, steam, avoiding, sometimes we can even cook those things without oil because the meat itself has enough oil that can be used to cook it. So those are some of the things that we can consider when preparing our meats. And also when we are looking about our starch foods and so on, we boil those as well. So we try not to have too much fried green planted and so on. It's nice, not saying that you can't have any, but moderation is the key. And also you can consume a huge amount of vegetables and a good amount of peas and beans, and also you can take at least 2 servings of fruits per day. So those are the guidelines that I'd like to
Okay,
share.
thanks a lot. But we have the brothers, they tend to drink a whole load of liquor during this time. What's the danger there?
Well, alcohol has several impacts. Apart from causing your judgment to be cloudy and affecting the mental ability that can lead to accidents, because of course we have been seeing the figures of accidents on the roads, and a lot of them have been related to drunken driving. So that is one impact. But also on the physiology of the body as well, it also helps increase the risk. Well, that is excessive alcohol consumption, because drinking about 1 glass of wine per day has been proven to be protective against heart disease and so on. But excessive consumption of alcohol will cause an elevation of the blood pressure, and it will over time cause liver damage, and it can also through the elevation of the blood pressure cause kidney damage and so on. So there are various impacts, not just on the mind but also physically, as a result of excessive intake of alcohol.
Okay, a whole lot we got there. But anything you want to add finally that we left out?
Well, just to make Portland aware that the Ministry of Health is on this campaign called 25 by 25, that is to reduce the amount of chronic non-communicable diseases that we have in the country by 25% by the year 2025, because as we look at the statistics globally, recognize that we really are seeing an increased burden in the chronic non-communicable diseases, that's the diabetes, the hypertension, heart disease, and cancer. And in fact, roughly about 70% of deaths globally are being caused by these diseases. So we really are taking it seriously, and so we're encouraging persons to have a healthy lifestyle, not just looking at the eating, but also addressing physical inactivity. So persons need to try to have 30 minutes of exercise per day, and of course you start slowly. Don't go and start jogging immediately. Talk with your doctor to get advice, and also avoid the negative habits such as smoking and drinking excessive alcohol.
Okay, Doc, I know that you have a staff that work with you, and I wouldn't want you to come here and for you not to, giving a shout out to your staff and
Definitely.
Merry Christmas and all of that.
Yes. Thank you very much for this opportunity. To the staff of the Portland Health Department and the Portland Health Services in general, I want to say greetings, and I wish for you all a blessed, peaceful Merry Christmas when it comes, and a very prosperous New Year. And I'm looking forward to working together with the team next year. And also to your listeners out there, have a blessed and Merry Christmas.
Thanks a lot. Dr. Lewis
Yes, Mr.
from the Portland Health Department.